Hey all viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to So You're Being Hunted, episode 644 I do believe. Now, apologies that there's been a slight delay to getting this out. Basically I did post a community message, well a message rather on the community tab here on the channel, but basically for anyone who doesn't know, of course Easter pretty much has been and gone, and as you'd expect I've had a bit of leave from work, a couple of weeks and all that. In fact, actually, technically, I've had 1 week of leave so far, and as of when I record this, I technically still have a week left. But during that first week, I was actually back up in the north of England with friends, visiting friends and family. So, of course, I didn't have time to record. And prior to actually leaving, I tried to sort of block record a load of stuff. To hopefully, you know, I did manage to block record a load of stuff that kept the channel sort of tiding over for the most part. In the meantime, in terms of the main series, you know, Wolfenstein, and then of course Martha is Dead, the one that started, series that started very recently. But unfortunately, just due to timings, things like that, and other commitments, I didn't quite manage to get enough recordings for the entirety of the time that I was away. Hence why the last couple of days. As of when I record this, that is. I think hopefully actually this should go out pretty much next day as of when I record this. But basically for a couple of days during the Easter holidays I had to, instead of doing my main series, I had to just do some pre-recorded indie horror content instead that I'd had lying around for a while. But that's fine, you know, people seem to have enjoyed that and that's good. And now that I'm actually back, I'm back in my flat down south. It's time for a big recording session. I've already been recording a bit of RTCW in fact, because there was another custom map that just got released recently for that one, so I went and played it. And I'm thinking, you know, I'll do obviously a little bit of Sir in this recording session. I'm also going to do obviously Wolfenstein The New Order, because I need to actually start recording that, since Wolfenstein The Old Blood has finished by now. And you know, I very much said during that series that I was going to do The New Order next. So I'm going to definitely keep up with that and do that next. Got it installed, ready to go on the old computer-mable. And I'll probably also record a bit of Martha is Dead, get another episode or so of that. Just, you know, scrape together a few quick episodes, and then that way I've just got a few things to keep me going over the next few days until I then get an opportunity to have a proper sort of big recording session where I can record a whole ton of other stuff, which will be fantastic. So, yeah, apart from that though, I've got other stuff I want to record as well. During the Easter holidays, Danganronpa Antebellum, you know, that fan game that I was playing quite a while back, Chapter 3 Deadly Life of that just got released during the Easter holidays. Haven't yet had a chance to record it because, again, you know, haven't had my recording set up. But now that I'm back, I'm hoping to make a start on that, get that done, and that way I can have sort of 3 bonus series kind of unfolding in the background on the channel. Bit of Slenderman Shadow, because I've already released something like the first 4 episodes of that out of 9. And then of course, you know, RTCW, well I'll say it's not really a bonus series, it's just a one-off, but that RTCW map that I mentioned a moment ago that came out as well quite recently. And then I could also be releasing Chapter 3 Deadly Life of Danganronpa Antebellum, the Danganronpa fan game. That is probably one of the most fleshed out fan games for Danganronpa that I've yet encountered. People were sort of asking me in comments, you know, oh, are you ever gonna come back to Danganronpa Antebellum when more gets released, or you know, when obviously when it did get released, I got comments, people saying, oh, it's been released, Deadly Life Chapter 3, you got to play it, Red, you got to play it, and I'm like, yep, don't you worry, I definitely intend to play it. So I'll try and get the bonus episodes of those out very, very soon once I've recorded them, so that way you know, you're not waiting too long and all that. So recording plans, got plenty of them. Another game, which actually, come to think of it, I've sort of resolved myself that I'm just going to do as a bonus series. I'm going to just get started on it really soon, start pre-recording a load of it, and then just uploading videos of it to the channel every so often. So actually that could kind of become a 3rd bonus series alongside Slenderman Shadow and Danganronpa Antebellum, would be The Signal from Tolva. You remember The Signal from Tolva, ladies and gentlemen? Big Robot's second game that they made after So You're Being Hunted, before The Light Keeps Us Safe, which I remember buying at the time, but I've never actually fucking played it. It's been bloody years since it came out. I imagine probably nobody's searching for it on YouTube, and here's me coming to it, or about to come to it rather, very, very late. I know it doesn't get quite as good ratings as, say, Sir or The Light Keeps Us Safe, but I don't know, I kind of wanted to give it a shot. I don't think it's a long game either, so if I do nice big chunky episodes of it, I could probably have a sort of short series, kind of play it and get it done and dusted, probably in a few episodes, I would imagine. All I know is that much like a lot of Big Robots games, it has robots in it. Except in this one, I think it's more like a proper sort of first-person shooter, with robots fighting each other and things like that, and gun battles and whatever else have you. So I'm kind of interested to see what it's all about. Thing is, I remember when I bought it back in the day, of course I was on my previous PC build, which was less sort of powerful than obviously the one I've got now. I think I did sort of do a bit of initial testing on it when I bought it. I think the frame rate, obviously on my older computer, was not as good. But of course with my current PC build, it should be able to handle it no problem. Should get a nice smooth frame rate out of it, which will be fantastic. So yeah, that's something else to look forward to on the channel in the very, very near future, ladies and gentlemen. Other games, of course, that people have been mentioning to me, the Metro series, because obviously I played Metro 2033 Redux not too long ago, back sort of late last year, and I've been meaning to get back round to that series because I need to. I think Last Light is the next one in the series, isn't it? Though technically, I think people have said it's supposed to be a prequel to Metro 2033, so sequel but prequel basically, and then after that is Metro Exodus. So probably what I'll do is, I'll probably do what I did with Metro 2033 Redux. I'll play Metro Last Light, then maybe play a few other things, and then I'll come to Metro Exodus. Probably. At least that's the rough kind of plan. But with all that aside, that's not really the main subject that I wanted to talk about in this podcast-style episode. Because of course, as I've hinted, I've just got back from the Easter holidays, so I might talk a little bit about what I got up to while I was back up north. I must say though, the drive back home though was back down here, that is, to my apartment, after I'd visited friends and family. It took a bit longer than normal because a section of the road that I take to get to where I'm currently living was frigging closed because of roadworks, bridge repairs, something like that. And so of course, there were all these diversion signs that had been put in place, and they took the most well, not longest, but certainly one of the most convoluted, twisting, friggin' diversion routes ever. It probably would have been easier for me to come off at an earlier exit onto a different road, so then beeline across in sort of like an easterly direction, then sort of sweep round sort of to the southwest, which would have taken me probably a lot quicker back to where I am. This means nothing to you without me actually telling you any actual town names or anything like that. And even then, it probably won't mean much to you, obviously, outside of the UK watching this, but yeah, well, hey. But yeah, in terms of actually what I did while I was back up north over the Easter holidays and all that, so I visited my family and, I did some of these sort of usual things that I always like to do while I'm back up north. Went up to Lancaster for a morning, just a, morning out with family, coffee. Went around the shops and all that, and of course Clitheroe trip, Clitheroe in East Lancashire. Went and visited there again because that's become very much a sort of routine that has for me. I don't know, I just really like Clitheroe as a town. I think it's really, really nice. Just a pleasant place to go for a sort of wander, a couple of hours in the morning or whatever. Have a wander around the shops, go and get a drink somewhere, There's this lovely little cafe. I forget what the name of it is. I think it's the Chocolate Works, something like that it's called. But it's basically a cafe, and their specialty is hot chocolates. Very, very nice. There's a good place to go. Or, you go up to Bowland Brewery, rather, which I've talked about before in Say Being Hunted, if you want, an alcoholic beverage and maybe a lunchtime meal or whatever. There's a good place too. Yeah, so we did the usual Clitheroe trip, and of course, after you've done all that, you can always, wander up to the castle on the hill, the ruin, maybe go to the Castle Museum, things like that. I have not actually been to Clitheroe Castle Museum for flipping years, and I didn't go this time round either. Next time I'm up in Clitheroe, I should actually go there, see what's changed in that museum since I last went there, because probably the last time I went to that museum was when I was a kid, in all honesty. But speaking of museums, one of the highlights of my trip back up north to visit friends and family was me and a couple of members of the family went to the British Commercial Vehicle Museum in Leyland. Now, not to offend any residents of Leyland, if any of you happen to be watching, maybe on the off chance perhaps there is, but Leyland, not exactly a town known for having much in it of interest, but the Commercial Vehicle Museum is a sort of decent place to go. It's not very big, you know, it's just sort of one main sort of floor, but you know, if you're into vehicular history, particularly in this case the history of, for example, British Leyland, a company that used to make a lot of vehicles, commercial vehicles that is, then you know, it's worth a visit and all that. And British Leyland obviously is a bit of an interesting case study because it's a company in British history that has a bit of a sort of checkered record, to put it that way. A lot of people sort of, when they hear the name British Leyland, they often think of a lot of the problems that company had, particularly sort of later in the 20th century. But there was a time when British Leyland was known for, you know, producing all sorts of quality commercial vehicles, trucks and vans and buses, other stuff as well, you know, during the World Wars, things like that. So the Commercial Vehicle Museum has a lot of stuff, you know, it has a lot of vehicles that you can look at, including a few that you can actually go inside, particularly sort of like old buses, basically. They also have this big sort of kind of like armoured Pope-mobile that was built when John Paul II, Pope John Paul, was he John Paul II? I think he was, wasn't he? Yeah, came visiting the UK in the 1980s or whenever it was. Because apparently British Leyland was contracted to design essentially a big sort of vehicle for him. And it was funny because like it wasn't, you know, when we think of Pope-mobiles, we think of like those little vans with like the bubble canopies on the back, where the Pope just sort of sits or stands waving at everyone. But no, this Pope-mobile in the Commercial Vehicle Museum is a proper big one. It's like a big truck with sort of like a proper standing deck in it, with a sort of bulletproof glass canopy. Apparently the underside of it is armoured as well. But yeah, that's one you can actually climb up inside, into the back of. So well worth a visit, you know. Good one for kids and families as well, because they have all sorts of very old classic vehicles, classic vans, classic fire appliances. Little thing I learned from my mother while I was back up north with, you know, especially when we visited the Commercial Vehicle Museum, fire engines. When we use the term fire engine, you're actually referring specifically to the machine inside the truck that pumps the water, or, you know, delivers the water or whatever. The technical term for a fire truck is a fire appliance. Well, certainly here in the UK, I don't know how it is in other countries though. But yes, they had a range of, for example, like fire appliances. So they had, for example, like an old Victorian steam-powered firefighting cart thing. Then they had sort of like a early 20th century fire truck. Good stuff, among other things. And then tons of buses, lots of buses, ladies and gentlemen, and trucks as well. Trucks from various ages, going from the 1910s right through to the 1980s and beyond. But yes, it was well worth a visit, though. Like I say, Leyland itself, the town, not exactly much going on there. So it's probably just one of those things, you know, for a morning out if you're ever visiting that area. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight of my trip back up north, visiting friends and family and all that. And like I say, that museum is well worth a visit. In fact, I think when I'm back up north, me and Phil should probably go and visit it, because Phil, actually, I did see Phil, of course. You know, he came over to visit me while I was staying at my old folks' house, and we went for a good sort of walk around the local area. I had lunch out. But, you know, I mentioned Commercial Vehicle Museum to him, and apparently, you know, he's never actually been there, so something for me and him to do that, I do think. As I say, Phil, because you're probably going to be watching this video at some point. It's a decent little morning out. Plenty to see and do, but it's not too big. think the admission fee for it was about £10 for an adult ticket, which obviously is, you know, not exactly cheap, but, you know, a lot of museums do obviously need to charge a hefty amount for admission, because especially, you know, when you've got all sorts of historical gubbins and artefacts, the upkeep isn't cheap and all that. Sorry, I was just gulping tea down as soon as that friggin' hunter saw me. Alright, but I'm trying to think, what else did I actually get up to whilst I was back up in the north? This is mainly just visiting relatives, things like that. Me and my old man actually went down to my grandmother's house on my mother's side of the family. Well, my mother actually came with us, but we were actually helping her clear out a load of old tat in her garage, because when her husband, my granddad on my mother's side, when he died, we've discovered that he was a bit of a hoarder, let's just put it that way. He was the sort of man who loved his garden, he loved gardening, and, you know, during his life he did a lot with the back garden of their house. A lot of DIY projects, you know, things like that. But he also was the sort of person who hoarded a lot of stuff from things like previous properties that he'd lived at, things like that. And, you know, what really sort of took the biscuit was when my mother discovered this roll of old carpet in the garage of their house, you know, where they are, well, where my grandmother is at the moment, and realised that it was a friggin' carpet runner from a bloody house that my grandparents had lived at back when my friggin' mother was a child, back in the bloody 60s or the 70s or whenever it was from. It's like, why have you kept hold of that, Grandpa? So basically, yeah, my grandpa, he died a couple of years ago, and since then we've been progressively just going through, or rather my family has progressively just been going through all of his friggin' tat and possessions that he had. And good God, there's a lot of stuff in there that you look at and you just think to yourself, why have you hung on to this over the years? Like my dad, for example, was saying he discovered in his garage that he had loads of old buckets that had holes in the bottom of them. Rather than getting rid of them, he just shoved them away into his garage and then forgot about them. But basically, yeah, so my dad, you know, he would sometimes go up to my grandmother's house, go into the garage, get loads of things like wooden stuff, paper stuff, old carpet, stuff that basically can be burnt, and you would basically just create a bonfire at the foot of a garden and just burn stuff. Because there's seriously so much of just crap, just DIY and gardening leftovers. Old buckets, especially like wooden buckets, just like bits of timber from when my granddad used to make trellises and things like that for his garden. Like, say, old rolls of carpet that for some reason he's hung on to over the years. And just even like old newspaper, stuff like that. Just you think, why are you hanging on to this? But basically, essentially it's all kind of like carbon neutral stuff that you can basically incinerate safely. So one afternoon, whilst I was up north over Easter, basically me, my dad and my mother, we decided to go and visit my grandmother, and me and my dad basically just went into the garage, carted a load of just like old timbers, old carpet, and like an old bird table as well, for some reason, that was in his garage, carted it all down to the end of the garden, where my dad had sort of set up like a sort of bonfire, I say pit, not really a pit, but like a sort of circle where he's cut out the grass and created essentially a fireplace in the garden, kind of. And basically we just put it on there. My dad got some fire lighters and matches and we just set it on fire. Created quite the merry blaze, we did. And we would have probably got through more if it didn't start raining really heavily. That's the thing, the weather actually over the Easter break has been kind of very mixed. Sometimes it's been fairly clear and a bit sunny and nice, you know, it's getting warmer and warmer. But other times it's been really rainy. It's pretty bad actually at times as I was driving up, particularly as I was driving back through Staffordshire, en route back to my apartment down south. And there's just points where the heavens would open up, and it just makes motorway driving such a pain in the arse, that's all. Because of course you're shooting along the road at bloody 70 miles an hour, you can barely see in front of yourself, so you just have to freaking slow down to 60, get over into the left-hand lane and just cruise along steadily and safely. Always an annoyance, ladies and gents. But, yeah, that's my report, ladies and gentlemen, for what went on over the Easter break. So like I say, as when I record this, technically I still have one more week off. But that's going to be, not a busy week, but it's going to be a week very much of preparing for work when it resumes. So I've got a few things like essays that are outstanding that need marking, so I'll do those. I've got a book chapter that needs writing. Second draft needs completing, so I can send it to the editor by mid-April. I've got most of it done, but I just need to do a little bit more of it. And then just preparing for when courses start again that I'm teaching on. So I'll probably be putting together lecture slides, things like that. So I've got plenty of stuff to keep me occupied over the coming days before the new, before the third term of the academic year starts. It's going to be a busy start, I think, but probably within a few weeks it'll start to calm down a bit. Alright, well, I think that's probably a good place for this episode, ladies and gentlemen, so hope you all enjoyed that. Facebook and Twitter links are down below, along with the link to my propaganda channel for anyone interested, and if you enjoyed, a like is always appreciated. Of course, can't talk about Easter without mentioning, yes, I did get a couple of Easter eggs. Already eaten one of them. But let me know in the comments, how was your Easter, ladies and gentlemen? How's it been? Did you do anything interesting over there and all that? Sure, you know, I'd love to know. Other than that, I'll sign off and join you, see you rather. Well, I hope you join me rather. Sorry, I'm fluffing the outro already. Hope you'll join me next time for Surrey Being Hunted when I get round to episode 645. Goodbye, everybody. Cable car activated, I guess. Oh god. Well, I kind of missed that. See, catching cable cars is hard, but it does. I'm going to get into it, please. There we go. Go for a cable car ride, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this will lead me to solve some of my doubts. This is my character. Well, that's a fast cable car, that was. Get out, there we go. Where the fuck am I? Through here? Wait. I've been through there? I've been through there. Right. So hang on. What's it been before? Oh, unless I open this now because I've got the key card, I see. It all loops around, doesn't it? I do like the view though. I like the cable cars and just go up and down. You see, I do sometimes like these kind of top-down games where they have interesting graphics and just like interesting scenes that you can look at.